Welcome to War and Untold Stories. Here, we explore the hidden side of history. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Ever wonder how a nation can completely transform seemingly overnight, from a Western-aligned monarchy to a revolutionary Islamic republic? That's exactly what happened in Iran in 1979. It's a story of power, faith, and a people's cry for change that echoed across the globe. Let's rewind the clock and uncover the dramatic events of the Iranian Revolution. To understand 1979, we first have to go back to 1953. Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, nationalized the country's oil industry, taking control back from foreign companies. This move was incredibly popular at home, but caused alarm in Britain and the United States. In a secret operation, the CIA and MI6 helped orchestrate a coup that overthrew Mossadegh and reinstated the young Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, as the absolute monarch of Iran. This event left a deep scar on the national psyche, creating a powerful narrative of foreign interference and fueling distrust toward the Shah's regime for decades to come. With Western backing, the Shah embarked on an ambitious campaign of modernization in the 1960s and 70s called the White Revolution. On the surface, it looked like progress. New industries were built, land reforms were introduced, and women gained more rights, including the right to vote. Cities like Tehran buzzed with a cosmopolitan energy, embracing Western fashion, music, and culture. Iran became a major military power in the Middle East and a key ally of the United States in the Cold War. But beneath this glossy veneer, deep-seated problems were brewing. The Shah's modernization was a double-edged sword. While it created a new urban middle class, the changes were often too rapid and disruptive. The land reforms, intended to break the power of old feudal lords, often failed to benefit small farmers, driving many of them off their land and into overcrowded city slums. A new gap emerged, not just between the rich and the poor, but between the westernized elite and the traditional religious segments of society. Lavish displays of wealth by the royal family, like the extravagant celebration for the 2500th anniversary of the Persian Empire, stood in stark contrast to the struggles of ordinary people, fueling resentment. Crucially, the Shah's rule was autocratic. He suppressed all political dissent through his feared secret police, the Savak. Political parties were banned, newspapers were censored, and anyone who dared to speak out against the regime risked arrest, torture, or worse. This lack of political freedom created a vacuum, and into that vacuum stepped one of the Shah's most formidable opponents, a charismatic, exiled cleric named Ayatollah Khomeini. From his exile, first in Iraq and then in France, Khomeini became the voice of the opposition. He was a brilliant and uncompromising critic of the Shah. He condemned the regime's corruption, its dependence on the United States, which he famously called the Great Satan, and its abandonment of traditional Islamic values. His message was simple and powerful. Iran needed to return to its authentic Islamic roots and throw off the corrupting influence of the West. His sermons were smuggled into Iran on cassette tapes, passed from hand to hand, and played in mosques and homes across the country. For millions of Iranians who felt left behind by the Shah's reforms and silenced by his repression, Khomeini offered a powerful vision of justice, independence, and spiritual renewal. He wasn't just a religious figure, he became a symbol of national resistance. The spark that lit the revolutionary fire came in January 1978. A government-controlled newspaper published an article insulting Ayatollah Khomeini. This act of disrespect triggered protests by religious students in the holy city of Qom. The Shah's security forces responded with lethal force, killing several demonstrators. This violence set off a tragic and powerful cycle. According to Shia tradition, memorial services are held on the 40th day after a death. So 40 days after the Qom killings, more protests erupted in the city of Tabriz. Again, the security forces opened fire, killing more people. And again, 40 days later, even larger memorial protests spread to other cities. With each cycle of protest and violent crackdown, the opposition grew bolder, larger, and more unified. By the autumn of 1978, the country was in turmoil. Massive strikes, organized by oil workers and bazaar merchants, paralyzed the economy. Millions of people, from secular students and intellectuals to devout bazaar merchants and laborers, took to the streets. It was a broad coalition united by a common goal: the removal of the Shah. They chanted, "Death to the Shah," and "Independence, Freedom, Islamic Republic." The sheer scale of the demonstrations was overwhelming. On the holy day of Ashura in December 1978, it's estimated that over 2 million people marched peacefully in Tehran alone, a clear and undeniable referendum against the monarchy. The Shah's government was crumbling. His attempts to quell the protests with force had backfired, only creating more martyrs and fueling the opposition. His offers of political concessions came too little, too late. His key ally, the United States, was confused and uncertain about how to respond. The Carter administration was torn between supporting its longtime partner and respecting the human rights of the protesters. This indecision further weakened the Shah's position. Isolated, in ill health, and having lost control of his country, the Shah and his family fled Iran on January 16, 1979. He would never return. His departure left a power vacuum, and the nation held its breath. Just 2 weeks later, on February 1, 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini made his triumphant return from exile. Millions of people flooded the streets of Tehran to welcome him, a human sea of celebration and hope. It was one of the largest gatherings in human history. His return marked the definitive end of 2,500 years of monarchical rule in Iran. Within days, the remnants of the Shah's military collapsed, and Khomeini's supporters took control of the government. The revolution had triumphed. In the aftermath, Iran held a referendum. The choice was simple: monarchy or an Islamic republic. An overwhelming 98% of voters chose the latter. A new constitution was drafted, establishing a unique system of government called Velayat-e-Faqih, or the guardianship of the jurist. This system created a dual structure of power, with elected bodies like a president and parliament, but with ultimate authority resting in the hands of a non-elected supreme leader, a position first held, of course, by Ayatollah Khomeini. The Iranian Revolution sent shockwaves around the world. It redrew the map of the Middle East, challenged the global power balance of the Cold War, and introduced a new, powerful form of political Islam onto the world stage. It proved that a popular movement, fueled by faith and nationalism, could topple a heavily armed Western-backed regime. The story of 1979 is a powerful reminder of how history can turn on a dime and how the call for change, when it unites a nation, can become an unstoppable force. Thanks so much for watching. The history of the Iranian Revolution is complex, and this is just an overview of the key events. What do you find most fascinating about this period? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.